So my daughter's name was or is Taniya. We lost her a month before her 18th birthday. She was killed in Chesapeake by a gentleman who was almost 3 times the legal limit, and he was speeding, of course. So he was going about 80 miles per hour, and she was a passenger. Her best friend was the driver, and then one of her other friends was in the back seat. It was their friend's graduation night. So her and her best friend graduated a year early. So they had already went out and started college and stuff. So they were celebrating with the rest of their friends who were graduating that particular year. And they had another friend, the irony, who was in the hospital. He was at like a party or something and got shot, who subsequently passed away as well, like a few weeks after my daughter. But they didn't want to go to any graduation parties because he was in the hospital. So, and that was one of their best friends. So they were out, getting something to eat on their way to her Nana's house. And it was probably, I think, like 11 o'clock. Her godmother, myself, and her grandmother, we had like a group text. So if she wasn't with one, we'd all kind of check in, like, is she there, on her way there? So we had literally just did our check-in maybe like an hour before because no one had talked to her. She ended up saying, no, Mom, remember I'm with Pam, which is her best friend, and we're about to go to Nana's house. So, I went to sleep for the night thinking it was a, normal night. She's good. Other kids are home. And I want to say like maybe 1:30 in the morning, I just got woken up to a lot of bangs and had a million missed calls and found out that she, they got food, and on their way to her Nana's house, they got hit head on. So they were pulling off from the light, and the young man hit him head on. She passed on impact. Her best friend who was driving had several injuries, like to her leg. She was in the hospital for a while and had to have quite a few surgeries and like rehabilitation. She's doing pretty good now though. As a matter of fact, she's about to graduate from college this year. But yeah, I'm super proud of her just for continuing on, when I'm sure everything in her wanted to say stop. So that was what shifted my world. That was the incident that occurred. As far as like how it's impacted my life, it's just been really tough. She was a really, really, really charismatic girl. And if you knew her, you loved her. And I know everybody who has loved ones that have passed away feel that way. But she really was. Like, she was loved by so many people. And it was even shown like at her funeral when I say it was flooded with like old softball coaches from when she was in elementary school and, teachers. And it was overwhelming in a good way, to say the least. But she was just really loved, and she just brought so much, like life into the room when she came. So it's been tough. Cause I get wrapped up in, like the what ifs, like if she was still here, how it would be and how it would be with her sisters. I have 3 other biological daughters. I have a 18-year-old, and I have twins that are 14, and then I have 2, I call them my bonus babies, my stepdaughters. They are 21 or 20, almost 21, and 15. So that's my single source of motivation. If it weren't for them, I think, I'd probably be with her. But, so it's definitely impacted it, but it's had, I don't want to say good impacts. There has been positives out of the situation because, losing her, it's kind of forced me to be my most authentic self and to kind of go after things that I probably wouldn't have. I've always been a little more reserved. It's allowed me to just kind of free myself up a little bit and just be, I guess, just my most authentic self. And, because I feel like I owe it to her. She's not here to fulfill anything that she had desires to fulfill. So I owe it to her to live my best life, I guess you could say. So it's had some good and bad impacts because, of course, just living without her, you just never picture it. As a parent, that's not the order of life. You never picture yourself you do all these preparations to make sure your children are okay if something happens to you, but you never imagine life happening to them, So that's still pretty tough pill to swallow, but my hope is us losing her, because I still have a lot of family members, unfortunately, that drink and drive and that haven't necessarily learned. So my hope is to touch, like I talk about her as much as I can to people, and just our situation, in hopes that it touches someone, to just make them think twice about their decisions about drinking and driving. It's 2024, so it's so many avenues. There's so many things that will prevent you from having to drink and drive. We have Ubers, Lyfts, there's even tipsy toes and just all this random things that you don't have to drink and drive. So I just really hope, or just be under any influence and drive. So I hope it, touches someone, to be able to hear her story and about her and the life that she missed out on, or is missing out on. I won't say miss. I know she's still here in some capacity, so I don't doubt that at all. But I definitely hope that the people around me, even if it's strangers, can learn something from it and hopefully not make the same choices. And honestly, even outside of hurting someone or taking someone's life, I want people to think about themselves. The people I've known that prior to losing her, I did car insurance for years, and I had to step away from that after losing her because it was just too tough. So, but prior to that, I talked to so many people on a daily basis that had DUIs, and they would, just talk about how it turned their life upside down. And they didn't hurt a soul. They just had to put a breathalyzer in their car and pay these monthly fees and go to classes. So even outside of the worst case scenario, it has a huge impact on your life when you choose to drink and drive, or just be intoxicated in any way and drive. It comes with a lot of consequences. So even if you don't think about it for the other person or the family you might be taking someone away from, I just feel like people should think about yourself. Care enough about yourself to make good decisions, to not put yourself in a predicament that could potentially hurt you, someone else, as well as ruin your future.